Okay, my name is Ariana Flores. I hold the position of SGA of Chief Justice, and what I do is assist legal advice with our advisor, Michelle Push, and in terms of assisting with legal and knowing legal things on campus. For example, I was conduct traffic tickets, and I conduct the policy of grievance, and I also conduct the student of conduct, basically in the terms of legal assistance. I introduce you to the Dean of Students, Jaquelyn McNeil, who has worked at SCF since August 2003. She started as an adjunct in the Language and Literature Department teaching. Beginning in January of 2004, she became the first director of the Academic Resource Center at SCF. Under her leadership, the ARCs provided tutoring service, writing center service, and workshop for SCF students. In 2006, she became the Dean of Students and continued to serve in that capacity. Dean McNeil's areas of supervision include the Academic Resource Center, the Disability Resource Center, Mental Health Services, and Student Support Services. She also will oversee the new TRIO Student Support Services grant that the college recently received. Dean McNeil is the college Title X coordinator and works with pregnant and parenting students who need support in maintaining their academic success. She is the college chief conduct officer and enforces the State College of Florida Student Code of Conduct. Dean McNeil believes that every student has the potential to be the right encouragement and resources. She and her staff work on getting those resources to students as efficiently as possible. I now present you Dean McNeil.
Thank you, Ariana. I appreciate that. And I'm very happy to have this opportunity today to talk about some of the services that we offer in student services. So student services covers a number of areas. Mine is just a small piece of it, but and I know that you all have heard about some of the others, but I want to be sure that you know the areas that we cover. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you the student services page. Okay, do you see it?
Yes, I see it.
Perfect. So this is found from the college's website. If you click on student services, this is the page that you're going to come up to. And you'll notice that we have things on the left side, there's a menu, and then there's the main menu in the middle of the page as well. Now, so the areas that fall under student services include the Academic Resource Center, admissions, advising services, which is our college and career planning services, assessment and testing, athletics, the campus ministry, again, career advising, college and career planning, cashiering, which is really not a part of our division, but that is certainly a student service and is in Building 1, the college reach out program, which you can find in Building 5, counseling services, registration, disability resource center, and dual enrollment early admission, again, which can be found in Building 5. We also have, I'm going to move over here to the financial aid office, which most of you should be very familiar with, and if you're not, you need to become familiar with them. International students, the Office of the Registrar, and any of these other services that you need from this area. So the last one I want you to be sure that you're aware of is if you're a veteran, we have veteran services as well. I want to talk to you a little bit about, we talked a little bit about career services. So Ariana and I, when we met, we mentioned what are some of the things that students want to know. And I hope that most of you that are here because you plan on doing something with the college degree. And what that something looks like, you can talk to our career services folks to help you determine what your career path might be if you haven't already decided. And even if you have decided, it certainly doesn't hurt to speak to someone to get more information. So the folks that can help you with that are Kelly Tippy. Kelly Tippy works with our student workers, and she can help you if you are looking for a job on campus. There's Michelle Groves, who is over our internship program. So if you are at the towards the end of your college degree, then you might want to talk to her about becoming an intern. And then there's Jennifer Boris, who also works with Career Services, and her office is located at Lakewood Ranch. We also talked about, okay, so we're talking about careers, but we're talking about college, and how much does it cost to go to college? I'm sure that many of you are struggling to make ends meet, because trying to be a full-time student or even a part-time student and still live is difficult. So if you haven't already, you need to complete your FASFA form. So what is FASFA? FASFA stands for it's the free application for federal student aid. And you have to have one if you're going to get any type of financial aid. If you are interested in finding out more about FASFA, you should talk with someone in the financial aid office, because they can walk you through the process. They will help you, and at certain times of the year, they set up workshops to help people complete the FASFA. So if you are a student who is interested in receiving financial aid, that is the first step. You can't get financial aid unless you've completed a FASFA. Okay, Ariana?
Yes, I know students are wondering, is there like a certain limit of FAFSA? Like, is there a certain limit of money that they're going to receive each year, or it's just their overall college career? Or?
Right, so there is a limit. There is and it depends on something they call EFC, Estimated Family Contribution. So it depends on what your family can help contribute. And then, of course, there's a ceiling to how much you can get. I don't know the actual amounts, but if you go to financial aid, they can certainly tell you exactly how much you'll receive and what your estimated family contribution is supposed to be. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So everybody's going to make sure that they fill out a FAFSA, even if you don't think you qualify, because a lot of times students think they don't qualify for FAFSA, and they do, or not for FAFSA. They don't think they qualify for financial aid, and they do. So it's really important to fill it out. It doesn't hurt anything, and it certainly is. It makes sense to know. Okay. All right, and so then Ariana and I talked about FERPA. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with FERPA, but FERPA is it's the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And what FERPA is designed to do is to help, it gives parents the right to know about their students' records when under the age of 18. Okay, so for minors, that means that when you all were in elementary school, middle school, high school, your parents could get information about your records. Once you turn 18, however, that goes away. So your parents can't come and say, well, I'm Ariana's mother and I want to know how she's doing in school. We're not allowed to give that information out. The only person that we can give information to about Ariana's records is Ariana. Now, FERPA is a form that there's a form that you can sign if you want to provide that access to your parents, or in some instances, if your parents insist that they have that access to your records, then you need to complete a FERPA form. And that form can be found on that same page that I showed you all. If you would click on Office of the Registrar, it'll take you right to that form. And you have the ability to tell who can have access to your records and what they can have access to. There are 3 categories on that form that you can decide if you want to give them partial or all access. And again, you can name who you want to have that access. Okay. All right. And
next question.
Sure.
Sorry. What could be potentially jeopardized if FERPA did not exist?
If it didn't exist?
Yes.
Well, so if FERPA didn't exist, that would mean the possibility. So I want to make sure I'm answering the different possibilities. So one is that, let's say something happened and you weren't able to come and access your records. If you didn't have a FERPA on file, our hands are tied and we're not able to give that information to anyone else. So we've had situations where students got into accidents and weren't able to come to school, or sometimes students might be in the hospital and they're not able to communicate with us. If we don't have a FERPA on file, we can't release their information to anyone. So that's a potential right there. Okay. So it doesn't hurt to have somebody listed, if it's a parent, if it's a significant other, but be very careful about who you put on there, because remember, they're going to have access to your records.
So where could I potentially sign up to put my family members, such as my mom or my dad, into that form?
You can go right online.
Okay.
To the, let me see, I might be able to pull it up. Okay, Ariana, do you see a form that says, welcome to the Office of the Registrar?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so on this office, on this screen, right here where it says forms, if you click on forms, right here is FERPA, third party release form. You click on that. You fill it out. It is a fillable form. You fill it out and you submit it to the Office of the Registrar. Okay, and remember I told you there were you had some you can select what's going to be released. Academic, financial, loan, student, all records, or other. You tell who they may be released to, and if you need to list more than one person, then you fill out, you add pages if necessary. You tell them how long, one-time release. I only want you to do it for this date. Limited release. I only want you to do it till the end of the semester. Or unlimited release, and that's as long as I'm here, then you can release this information until I revoke it in writing. And then you sign it and you turn it in. Okay?
Okay, great.
Good. So yes, I tell you that most parents, if they are helping you in any way financially, they want to know what your grades and other statuses are. So
yes.
Think about that. All right, so let's talk about COVID-19, and let's talk about what's happening here. So our student support services coordinator, who is Suzanne Walters, is the person who has been managing our caseload here. And so what you typically will get if you have to monitor, quarantine, or self-isolate, you will get a letter from Suzanne Walters that says that's what you're supposed to do. So here are the problems that we're running into. You will get a letter, and if your information is correct, if your phone number is correct, then you'll get a text message that says you have an important letter from SCF. And you need to go in and open up your email and get that letter. Now, what we're finding is a lot of students seem to think that the letter, the email is Canvas. It is not Canvas. It is your student email. And it's important that if you don't know how to log into to get your student email, that you check with our help desk and you find out how to get into that system, because that's how we send letters. So what we're finding out is students who have been told that they need to monitor, those students are fine to come on campus. If you are a student who comes on campus, you may still come on campus because we're asking you to monitor. If you receive a letter that says you need to quarantine, then you shouldn't be on campus. And there will be a date in that letter. This is one of the reasons why it's so important for you to open that letter. So there'll be a date in that letter that says, Ariana Flores, you need to self-isolate, quarantine until November 10th. then you know, don't come on campus. Now, in the meantime, we're also working with your professors. Those absences are not held against you. And if you run into issues where you feel like you've not been treated fairly, then you let us know and we'll work with you. So that's the quarantine. And then there's one that's self-isolate. And that is also one that gives you a date and tells you that you need to work with Suzanne Walters to be able to come back on campus. So why am I telling you all this? Because we're finding that students are coming on campus, even when they're supposed to be quarantined or self-isolated. They're still coming on campus. So I want to be sure that everyone is aware that if you get a letter that says you need to quarantine, you are not to be on campus at all. If you get a letter that says you are to isolate, you are not to be on campus. So how do you get approved to come back on campus? You either go through the days that are in that letter, or you present a negative test result. We don't require a test, but if you want to be able to come back to campus earlier, you have to present a negative test result, okay? So please remember, if you get a letter, you need to open it. The other thing, as we've been going through this, one of the things that we've noticed is, guys, your phone numbers aren't right. You all don't check your numbers. You don't go in every semester and make sure that your phone number is accurate. So just today, I got a phone call back from someone who said, I'm not that person.
What?
Yeah. So need for you all to every semester make sure that your phone number is accurate. And is this really important? Yeah, it's important, because I got to tell you all, if you all weren't able to text your friends, you would be, it would just be pitiful to watch you all, right? So you make sure that your friends have the right phone number. How about make sure we have the right phone number, just in case, all right? So we'd like for you to do that. So what happens when you get quarantined or self-isolated? As I mentioned, we get in touch with your professors and we copy you on that email, and we tell them that you have been exposed, or whatever, whether you've been exposed or you tested positive. We let your professor know that you will not be in class, and we ask your professor to please work with you. And in that instance, you have a copy of that correspondence between our office and your professors, okay? So that's what happens when you're quarantined or isolated. Ariana?
Yes, what happens when if I go to switch up online since the COVID-19, what if the professor is not acting professional or flexible, or they're just not communicating back with me? Who do I report this to, or how do I go along with that?
That's a good question. So if you're having any concerns with your professor, the first line of action that you need to take is to contact the department chair. Okay, and so once you've contacted the department chair, they should then move to take corrective action. If that doesn't work, then the next step is the assistant dean to that area. And for any of these, you can always find out who those people are. You can ask, and we can tell you who which area you fall under. So that would be the course of action. But we also have something. There's a procedure. I don't know if you all are familiar with procedures that we have at the college. And again, I am going to share my screen, and I am going to show you where to find procedures. Okay, do you see the home screen?
Yes.
Okay, so on this screen, we're going to go to About, and then over to Publications. When you click on Publications, over on the left side, you're going to see SCF Procedures. You will click there. So you asked me, what happens if we have a problem with a professor, and let's say that you've done everything that you know to do, and it still hasn't worked out. So in that instance, we're going to go down to S, to student. Here's the first one, student request for conflict resolution as related to academic matters. If you read this procedure, it will tell you the steps that you have to take if you have a situation that you don't feel is being resolved, academic. And then there's another one here. This is student request for conflict resolution as it relates to administrative policies. So these are the other things that are not related to the classroom that you might have concerns about. This is the process that you would use to take care of those. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're back. So that's what I wanted to tell you about COVID. So let's talk about the questions that you might have.
Okay, I also have one question. Here it goes. Is what should a student do if they're not performing well in their classes?
Okay, so good question. And there's so much. It's a short question, but there's so much involved in that. So it kind of depends.
Yeah.
It depends on what's going on. So if a student is not performing well because of other stuff that's going on in their life, then we can talk about the support services that we have. A lot of times students are struggling with stress. They're struggling with, we have a lot of non-traditional students. So we have a lot of students who have families, they have children, and particularly in these times, they're dealing with trying to help their children in school. Some of their children are not back in school. So it could be stress. In that instance, I want you to make sure that you contact our Student Support Services office. And if you haven't seen one of these, this is our counseling card, okay? It tells you how you can get in touch with our counseling services. This is a 24-hour line, 941-752-5107. That's a 24-hour line that can tell you how to get in touch with someone for counseling, okay? That's one of the steps that we want you to take. We also have on the back of our card is Suzanne Walters' information. She's our coordinator of student support services. We also have a mental health counselor on the Bradenton campus. Her name is Viata Munger, and she can work with students as well. We have campus ministry here as well, and that is one of the places that's mentioned when you call that 5107 line. They mentioned campus ministry as well, but we have that available too. So let's say if it's one of those problems, then that's how you talk to someone about that. Sometimes we find students who find themselves temporarily homeless. Something's happened. They don't have a safe place to stay anymore. Again, you come talk to one of those folks, and they can put you in touch with resources. Okay. So the other thing, maybe you're not doing well because you are not academically prepared. This is a class that you just weren't. I didn't realize it was going to be this tough. So we have the ARC, Academic Resource Center, where you can get a tutor to help you with some of the courses, mostly math, science. We have a writing center. So there are some other resources for you to go to if that's the case. Ariana?
Is the ARC currently in person? Are they conducting appointments in person?
So they're doing both. It is primarily online, but they are doing some in-person, and they are doing their final exam cram is going to be really, I think it's going to be fantastic. They're doing in-person, they're doing online. So they're and they're doing some workshops that are going to be in person, but if they reach capacity, you will also be able to do it like with our Go Live classes. You'll be able to join that class, that workshop, as it's going on. So that's kind of where the arc is at this point. Other questions?
Yes. How do I get more involved within SCF?
Oh. So, and you don't mean you because you're already involved.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, but just the students that are wondering, like, hey, I want to put more effort, I want to join clubs, want to meet new people.
So
Yeah.
they need to see Michelle Pulls. They need to talk to Michelle Pulls about what is it that, what kind of clubs, what clubs are available, what can I do? Because there are a lot of activities here that students should, you know, a college experience ought to be one that's not just academics. It ought to be, there ought to be some extracurricular things that you can join. So, you know, aside from our athletic teams and going to, well, we can't do those games right now, but there are a number of activities that and clubs that students can join. And if they want a list of those clubs, talk to Michelle, she can tell them.
How do I get involved with the Disability Resource Center if I have a disability?
Oh, okay. Great question. So the Disability Resource Center requires that you have a documented disability. And most students who have a documented disability have those papers. That's how you get started with them. We have students who have documented disabilities who never, ever register with the DRC. And I think part of it may be because they feel like that's a stigma. So I would hope that all of you, any of you who have a disability and would benefit from some additional accommodations would go ahead and put in that paperwork, because it's so much better to have it in place and not need it than to need it and not have it in place. And honestly, I think people have a, they don't always see disabilities. They think that, oh, I have a disability, or somebody has a disability, they're going to think less of me. We all have some type of disability. It's just that for some of us, ours is a little bit more than others. I have to wear glasses to see. The number of people who have to wear glasses to see are, you know, that number is a huge number, right? So that's a disability. It may not be as profound as some others, but it is a disability. So I would hope that we stop thinking of disabilities as something that happened to someone. It's just a difference in that person. And I hope that that's how we can start looking at that, and we don't make people feel less than because they have a disability.
As a disability student, I don't think just the term disability is just a term. It's just to put us in one, but it does not define who you are. It does not define what you do as a person, what you're capable of. As a disability student, I have documentations that I use, and I feel like it has absolutely made my school like 100% easier. So I advise you guys to go out there and sign up and get all those documentation, that the help that you need to get straight A's in class.
Absolutely.
Like make it way easier. Yes.
That's a great analogy, Ariana. And I think as we think about disabilities and what we have to do, I promise you all, so I wear glasses. So here are my glasses, and I don't have them on because I'm close enough to the screen. But if I was somebody who didn't want to admit to my disability, all of you would be scared to be on the road with me. Okay, because I can't see far away, and that means that I'm a high risk driver without my glasses, right? So there's nothing wrong with owning up to a disability that we have and accepting the accommodation that will help us maintain a level playing field. My glasses maintain a level playing field for me. So if I don't wear my glasses and I'm tested, and my test is that I have to read a sign far away, and I'm sitting next to someone who doesn't need glasses, they have an unfair advantage over me, right? But when I use my accommodation and put my glasses on, I can now read the sign and I've leveled the playing field. So I hope people will think of disabilities as that, leveling the playing field. That's all it is. Well, if there's anything else that I can help with, I would be very happy to help you all out. Before we do leave, though, I would encourage students to make sure they read the handbook, the student handbook and planner. And Ariana mentioned earlier that I am the chief student conduct officer, and what that means is if a student violates the code of conduct, then that comes to me. And if you don't know, the code of conduct begins on page 105 in your planners, and it starts with our general expectations of our students. We expect you to be respectful. We expect you to have a sense of civility, to think about your civic duty. And it goes on to talk about the different areas that students are expected to know. So we talk about academic misconduct, so cheating, plagiarizing, copyright violations. Those types of things fall under academic misconduct. We talk about standards of classroom behavior. We expect you to be in class and act like a civil human being, right? We talked about standards of behavior for our students, our visitors, and organizations. And then we talk about examples of prohibited conduct. And this is not an exhaustive list, but that we do try to give you as much information as possible. And finally, on if you continue looking, you will find we talk about hazing and how we prohibit hazing. We talk about animals on campus. We talk about religious observances. All this information you can find in here. And then we talk about student discipline and what happens. And these are the degrees of sanctions that we employ at the institution. And you can find those on page 115. So I encourage you not only to look at this for the code of conduct, but because there's a lot of good information in here, including how to register for classes, how to access your student email. Yeah, all of that's in this book. We even have the section on SCF acronyms, because we use a lot of acronyms here. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. Right, so Ariana, I know that we are wrapping up, and I know that this is going to be recorded for future use.
Well, thank you so much for your time, McNeil. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Especially to talk to the deans of students. And not because I need to be disciplined. But
well, Ariana, thank you all. I appreciate being invited to join this effort. I think it's a wonderful effort, and please do note that my office is always open for anyone who wants to come and talk if they have a concern or if they have kudos for someone. My office is always open. Thank you so much.